brake change on a Ford Transit.
These are the brakes I got. I got the most premium ones you could just because I have a big load. But the most important thing, before you leave the store, have them label which ones are the front brakes and which ones are the rear brakes. That'll save you a lot of headache.
On your rear brakes, the ones on the inside, they have these little notches. So make sure to keep the notches on the inside. I don't know why, but apparently that's what you're supposed to do. So this is the outside one, you can tell. That's the inside one. Step 1, loosen your brake fluid cap. And then when you're pushing in the pistons, if you have too much like I did, it's gonna push out and you're probably gonna spill some. So watch out for that. First, you're gonna loosen the bolts before you jack up the vehicle, just because it'll spin otherwise. So once you do that, then you can jack it up. You have your jack points on the front right there, and then you have the jack points on the back, which is just the circular axle area. Now, I was told this was a good spot to put your jack stand, but I also had it on the behind right there. But honestly, I'm just keeping most of the pressure on the jack right there, and this is just here for emergencies. To take the caliper off, there's just 2 bolts on the back. You got this one here and this one here. You just use, I have what size is this? We got a 15 millimeter. You just take those off. You might have to hold these in place. People talked about needing like a wrench or something to hold, pliers to hold this in place, but I found just holding my finger works just fine. So you can just hold that and pull off both these. But even after that, I was finding that I couldn't get it off, and I was wondering why. But I think it's just you have the calipers in there. So I found if you pull against it a little bit, just pull them in, try and pull them, then it pushes them in just enough for you to be able to slide it off. Once you get the caliper off, all you have to do is pop out the old ones, and you can take off these metal clips with it. They just pop off as well. You can put in the new ones if they came with it. Keep this metal back plate to put on the new brakes. And then you can put a little bit of oil or grease on the ends of these. You don't need much, just enough to slide them back in. You slide that in, and then you can do that same for the back one and the clips as well. To put the caliper back on, I just have the old brake pad wedged with this C-clamp here, and then all you have to do is turn it and it'll push the caliper pistons. They just stick out, but then you just tighten it down and they go in, and they won't come back out until you push the brake on the car. So you just push them in, and then you can slide it right back on here. I got the caliper back on there. These parts right here, these are kind of spring loaded, so you're gonna have to push it down to get this to fit back around it. Same with the bottom one. But once you get that on, you can just slide it back on and put on the bolts. And all you gotta do is put the tire back on. You'll slide it into place, keep it back, and then you'll put the bolts on each way. You can just hand tighten them, and then once you get it real tight, you wanna do like a star pattern and get that on there. And then you can lower it down and then give it as much of a tighten as you can, just to make sure. And that should be all it for the front. Well, the backs have proven to be a little bit more complicated than I thought, but I'll walk you through it. So everything's the same going up to taking off the brakes and putting everything new on there. With this, you just have to make sure your emergency brake is off, so you can slide this off. The thing about getting it on is you can't use a C-clamp like you can with the front one. I ended up having to rush over to Advanced Auto and getting this specialized tool. It's just this thing here. And don't get too intimidated like I did. It's not as crazy as it seems. Basically, you just need this bit here on here. It goes into this, and these 2 prongs spin this, and there's an arrow on there right there. You just turn it in the same direction. It's pretty hard to turn, but once you get it all the way back till it bottoms out, then you can fit it back on here, and you can put everything back together the same way as the front. So that's the only difference. I had to rent out this tool for like 150 bucks, but they'll give me my money back once I return it. So it's still worth it here. So that's all you have to do for the back. Last step, put your cap back on. Now you're done. For the test drive, I found my emergency brake was pretty loose, so I just cranked that a few times, and then I just went and I drove around and tested the brakes, pumped those, and then I also drove in reverse and stopped pretty hard on that, and that tightened everything up really nice. So you should be good after that.